Heretic. One might say you could call this the step in between Doom and Quake. But it also started a series of its own. The story of Heretic is of a world that has been besieged and thoroughly taken over on a religious aspect by one of the Serpent Riders. 3 in total. The one you must deal with here is the Spiral. Now, why would I call this like a step between Doom and Quake? Well, it's very simple. It followed the first-person shooter formula that id had come up with, now Bethesda. So it followed that formula perfectly. But what happens is in this game, you can also levitate. You can move along the XY axis. You can move vertically, also capable of jumping. I think you can jump in the Heretic. But definitely with certain power items, which you can activate when you want to. That was another plus. But you could move along the XY axis and, could move horizontally, vertically, you could fly, you could move north, south, left, forward, backwards, left, right, up, down. Of course, the maps couldn't be generated in that way. And so you play as a character. I believe the name of the character that you are given is Corvus. And he is trying to free his land of the Spiral's influence. Now, just like Doom was, this was initially a shareware first level, purchase the full game from the company, and continue on. And then it got released as a mass set as Heretic Shadow of the Serpent Riders, which had 2 extra missions in it. So, what does that mean for us? Well, it means 5 levels of fun if you had the Shadows of the Serpent Riders collection. And of course, when it happened midway after I started recording Heretic, that Bethesda released a remaster version of Heretic and Hexen as a group. Hence, Heretic and Hexen. And Heretic got a 6th mission with some two new enemies. Actually, 2 new enemies and one that initially you only encountered at one specific spot in the original collection. And a new weapon, which is kind of cool. It takes the normally weakest weapon and makes it a very strong one. But how did this game play out? Well, it actually plays out, just like the original Doom did. Each mission consists of 8 levels. Well, nine levels. One of which is a secret level that you can access from one of the previous 8 levels. The first mission only had certain enemies in it, and then like missions 2 up would give you new enemies to deal with. It would also step up the amount of weaponry you can get. And you had your. However, each weapon pretty much had its own unique ammo. The only difference being the new weapon they added in the 6th mission. And of course, it works. It has the 5 different difficulty levels. And you work through them. I can't remember all the mission names. Only one that sticks with me right now is the newest one, which is Faith Renewed. But as you're working your way through the game, you actually get to see some enemies that probably Doom paid homage to in later releases. I mean, you got your weak enemies in it, like the gargoyles and the golems. There's a trickier golem variant that is almost always in its ghost mode. Oh, and that was something else they added. If enemies could become intangible, they could not be hit by side attacks, which is kind of a pain. But you had some very creative weapons in this one. You start off with basically either a rod for close combat with no weaponry, or a crystal scepter. Or crystal rod, I don't know. Which is your weakest weapon. You get your next weapon would be your ethereal crossbow, which will fire 3 shots, one main one and 2 side ones. The main one will guarantee can hit a intangible enemy, but the side ones can't. Have the dragon claw. Then you have extra stuff like the hell staff. It's powered by runes, which is a beautiful weapon. Fire it in a straight line, and it will go in that direction and track out the closest enemy it can get in line with, regardless if they are in intangible mode or not. You have another fun weapon called the Phoenix Rod. This is your rocket launcher. So obviously you don't want to be close when that blast goes off unless you have something to protect you. And you also have a fire mace, I think it's called. A mace that basically shoots out spears, or spheres of metal. And all these weapons, there's an item you can collect and use at any time you feel you have to use it. It's called the Tome of Power. It powers up all these weapons. I forgot to mention, you got gauntlets too that you could find. They replace your staff. All your weapons will have a power up when using this spear, or using the Tome of Power. The crystal rod scepter, it will shoot 2 blasts instead of 1. Your staff has a magical aura and a little extra, oomph to it. Your arrows, instead of shooting 3 shots, it shoots 5. Yeah, one bolt gets you 5 shots. Nice. The dragon claw, which shoots out orbs, which you collect that ammo, will now also shoot out spiked balls in the 8 cardinal directions relative to, what way you're facing. The hell staff, if you fire it while it's powered up, wherever the shot connects also gets a rainfall of fire that lasts for a little bit. Great if you're dealing with a closed-in enemy or enemies that like to rush through things. Because you could just set a whole path up and they'll just... The Phoenix Rod turns into a flamethrower. And the Fire Mace, I think, again, I'm trying to remember these. Instead of shooting out these small orbs, it shoots out these huge fucking things. You also have your other power-up items. You can collect, these quartz flasks that actually heal 25% of your health. You have mystic urns, which will refill your health when used. You have there's a device you can find, an artifact called the Chaos Device. It will actually transport you back to the start of the level. Wings of Wrath will allow you to fly around the level. What that in a way takes away the advantage that some of the characters have in this game, because there are some that can fly, like some of the gargoyles. And you have there's a weapon that will turn enemies into chickens. Kind of good when you got a whole bunch of them and you poof. Okay, chickens can't hurt me too much, but they're also quicker to kill. Boom, 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 boom. You don't have to worry about a flock of chickens attacking you like in Legend of Zelda. And of course, works on the formula. You have to find keys to advance in certain areas. Okay, I can work with that. But the real trick is making your way through the levels, because of course you're going to have creatures that are bosses for certain levels, and as you move forward, they're going to become more in. You're going to run into them more in the regular levels. In fact, one of your first creatures you run into that is a boss is the Iron Lich, which they can fly, they can hover, they got shit ass powerful attacks. I mean, it could shoot out a column of fire. It could shoot out ice crystals that can do devastating damage, and it could shoot out a tornado, which will track you and, you know, kind of mess you up if you are, trying to stand still and aim at this thing. You got creatures that are fast and have very blade-like weapons. You have some serpentine creatures that can cast powerful attacks. There's a slight homage to them in Doom Eternal. They're called the Whiplash, I think. Second mission ends with an attack against creatures called Molotars. They look like Minotaurs. They got a devastating rush attack and can cast like fire attacks. Those you gotta think for. Usually you have to, like, end of the first and the fourth mission, I think you have to deal with the Iron Liches more. Second and the fifth mission, you have to deal with Molotars. And sometimes the trick can be figuring out things. And this was the first person shooter that I'm aware of that could have regenerating dangers. I mean, you might hear this sound throughout the level, some levels. And this is the things that are, if you shoot them, they go kerblooey. If they go kerblooey, you are fucked if you're too close to them. And it does the same thing for monsters, too. Also, just like in the original Doom and other, in Doom games, these monsters don't necessarily like one another too much either, and they'll get into an attack with each other. But as you continue, I mean, levels somewhat have themes. Each of these levels, these missions have their own map, which is beautiful. I love the maps that they had in these games. And you can actually look at the map and see if things are automatically moving if you know how to read the maps. Like areas of the floor, like closing walls, something like that. Now, your final, at the end of the level of Mission 3 and Mission 6, Faith Renewed, that is where you fight the Spiral. The first time you do kill him, and the second time, like at the end of Mission 6, it's like he's been revived. And the Spiral rides Chaos Serpent. So it's sort of like and he's also summoning helpers all the time. So you're sort of fighting along and doing all that. But when you get to once you get rid of the serpent, now you have to follow him around because he's going to teleport all over the field trying to blast you and all that. So it's a matter of seeking out where he teleported to and blasting him until he disappears. While also dealing with all the side guys and all the disciples he's summoning. Disciples of the Spiral, can be nasty because they float and they fire about 3 blasts at once. Close proximity, that's going to be a lethal blast. Where the farther away you get, you have more room to dodge. And you also have to deal with, all the weapons. And sometimes you also have to deal with environmental dangers too. In part of your first battle with a Molitor, there's going to be a lava field. Run out onto the ice, you keep sliding until you physically stop. Because they added some better physics into this game. It's a fun game. And the new mission, like I said, it adds a weapon and it adds some enemies that you wouldn't find on your own. First off, you have in the new mission, the Faith Renewed, you have Draugrs, which are kind of like the golems, except they're faster. And they can, and a golem. Some golems can actually shoot screaming fireballs. Some that might actually track you. But the Draugrs, they are fast and have a more powerful attack. You got trolls in this, which is like a mini Molitor. They will charge you. And depending how high a ledge is, they can actually somehow climb that ledge in an instant. Although it's kind of fun to kill them when they're in mid charge because it's like charging at you and they explode and the gibbage just keeps moving forward. Of course, dealing with them and then having to deal with a Molitor too. Oh my goodness! You got you got two characters that can attack you with charging, and one that can really do a lot of damage with its other attacks. So, and you also have Chaos Serpents, which are basically the beast that the Spiral's riding. And they can throw out fireballs. And I don't mean the whiskey. But I mean, with all these things that they added to the Doom formula and made it work, you can understand why I think of Heretic as Doom Plus. And of course, once you get done defeating the Spiral, first time Corvus would attend go into the next set of levels, almost like it's a different land than his homeland. And of course, it seems that way, or a different area, and he is still fighting. Because he's going to get rid of all their forces. He is the heretic. And I tell you, the games are fun ones. They have all sorts of things, and you have to really think some of these puzzles out. Uh, there's one I actually had to cheat with because you have to go from one door to another door. Problem is that the doors are elevated over a floor, and this is one of those rooms where they have these things pop up in. So if you don't have like the wings of wrath, what you gotta do is hope that enough of these puffball-like things appear so you can actually run across them over to the door you need to get to, and then do it again to get to the exit of that particular little area. Yeah, I had to go clip. I had to turn on no clipping for that one. And the secret level that's in the new installment, the new mission, boy. If you can get through that without having to turn on and like God mode, good for you. Good for you. And it has all the benefits that like they did with Doom and Doom 2 when they did this kind of setup. You get item counts, you get secret counts, you get enemy counts. You look at your map and you can see the details. But it was a very good game and I enjoyed it. And, you know, that's what I'm going to say for now about Heretic. Definitely give this game a play, especially if you love the old style of Doom. and find out why it did so well, even though and its success. It's the second part also did well. Well, the second part isn't Heretic though; it's Hexen. But until next time, I'd like you all to take care and have fun. Bye.